Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fiume, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the founders of Tip Top Canine, Ryan and Rachel Wimpey. Guys, how are you today?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys being on the show. Tell us all about Tip Top Canine.
Well, got started in 2010 training dogs. Just had a really bad dog, tons of behavioral issues. Open the front door, I'm chasing him for hours, like literally. He had potty training issues, aggression, anxiety, out of control barking, like literally tons of issues. And that's what happens with a lot of rescues. And it just got me really obsessed about dog training and trying to figure out a way to help this little buddy and not ruin all my relationships with everyone around me. Because that's what happens when people have bad dogs. Crazy dogs, they love the dog. Just if other people don't, it impacts your relationships. Really got obsessed with dog training, going down this rabbit hole. And then in 2010, started training full time. In 2017, we ended up licensing the concept for 5 stores. 2019, we started franchising. And today we have 24 units. So that's a quick recap of Tip Top.
That's awesome. Ryan, you said you had a bad dog. Are there bad dogs or are there bad owners? Who's at fault here?
There's both. There's both.
Yeah.
A lot of trainers will say there's no bad dogs, but they don't work dogs in Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas. Maybe where you live in Tampa, there's no bad dogs, but sometimes there's dogs with, maybe they're not bad dogs, but they have certain genetic predispositions to bad behaviors, whether that's high prey drive, dog aggression, human aggression, resource guarding.
And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know how to deal with that. So that's where a good trainer will come in and get to help them overcome some of those issues, because a lot of them are. And that's one of our goals at Tip Top Canine is to keep dogs out of shelters with their client, with their owner, so that they can have a free life off leash and get to go everywhere with their clients.
Wow. What a great mission.
4-month-old Belgian Malinois right now. They're more police military dogs. They're like tan with a black face. At 4 months old, he already wants to bite everybody, everything. And it's just his genetics. He's not a bad dog.
No.
He just has genetic predispositions to what in America would be considered bad behavior.
Right. Wow. What are some of your favorite breeds that you've trained?
Personally, I love Labs. That's my favorite. I love Labradors, and we do tons of doodles. Golden doodles, Labradoodles. I love all the
Bernedoodles are getting really big right now. We have so many Bernedoodles.
Wait a minute. Is that a Burmese mountain dog and a doodle combined? I've never seen that before.
They're so cute. They're cute. They're smart. A great family dog.
Wow. Oh, I bet. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I bet they do look great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, okay, so you start running your business. I want to kind of lead into before you start franchising.
Yeah.
You started licensing, you said, back in 2017. So, Rachel, why don't you kind of take this on a little bit, if you would? What led you guys to licensing and as opposed to just franchising right from the get-go? How did that all come to be?
Well, I think that we had a lot of things to work out because we wanted to expand. We knew that we wanted to go out of Oklahoma, and we were, looking at all the options. Okay, we can do a bunch of corporate stores in the surrounding states, things like that. And we decided, hey, we have a couple of friends that we think can help us with this. And we wanted to make all the mistakes during that time.
Yes.
Then whenever we, figured out, hey, what's going to work, what's not going to work, then we were like, okay, now we're ready. Let's go ahead and franchise and make this help our brand grow. Right.
So you guys were kind of accidental franchisors, I guess, starting out.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, franchising is also very expensive. Right?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
I think the licensing allowed us for proof of concept and ability to make mistakes on a less public radar, right? We're able to make them, and we our first few people, we're just putting them in there at, not a $78,000 to $150,000 buy-in.
Right.
They're getting in dirt cheap, but then we're also working through all of our issues as well.
Yeah. And it was such a fun time of learning. Like, it was a great time of learning. We knew we wanted to be heavy on the support. A lot of dog training franchises, they don't offer a lot of support. So their people are just kind of out there drowning. And that's something that sets us apart. We're really heavy on the support. So we were able to iron out how we were going to do that and make it work and grow our team as well as growing our locations teams.
That's awesome. I kind of think about, in franchising, it's all about, of course, having systems and processes and having our franchisees be able to replicate our own success.
Yeah.
I know I had difficulty when I was starting out in franchising. I had adult sports and kids sports, and actually my adult sports franchisees were not replicating the success, and I couldn't figure out why, even though they were following the systems. I think, though, in your business, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I could picture there's so much left up to possible chance of the franchisees making a decision to do something, especially when it comes to training the behavior of dogs, I would think, right? Tell me how do you work through that? How do you help keep franchisees really on the straight and narrow path and truly believing, implementing your system and not kind of going off, on their own?
Yeah, we spend a ton of time with them at the beginning. Our training process is about 6 weeks long.
Wow.
And even before that, we offer training over Zoom and different things like that because we really want them to see our mission, see our systems. Ryan has worked so hard in making sure that we have, these strategies for these different scenarios. Because like you said before, sometimes dogs, they're their own, they're their own dog. They have different personalities and different backgrounds. And so it takes a lot. And I think that initial 6 weeks we spend together, we really are able to pour in our vision. We're able to pour in what we believe in and how important our training system is.
And I would imagine, too, in your brand, making sure you have the right franchise owner is critical. This is not about just looking for somebody who's well organized, detail oriented, communicates well, somebody that can just, open the shop, scale it, hire people. And no, there's a lot more to this. So I'd love to kind of hear, what is the personality of the right person for your brand?
Yeah, we've had to turn down a lot of people that are ready to write a check, but they're not the right fit. They don't actually really love dogs. They're not going to carry that. They're just looking like, hey, it looks like you make good income, right? So we need, first off, someone that loves dogs and they're passionate.
Yeah.
They're going to see when they come to our initial trainings, they're going to see our system works really good. And our people don't really want to deviate. It works really good, right? So, but then somebody who loves dogs, 40% of people in the U.S. right now, they say they want to start a business, but a lot of them don't have that support. So we want someone with that entrepreneurial spirit, whether they actually have business experience or not, loving dogs and high energy. That's basically really what I need. That's it.
And with the 24 franchise that you have open, are most or all the franchise owners running the business day to day, or have they hired managers that are running it and they just merely investors? It sounds like they're rolling up their sleeves and they're doing it.
There's a mixture of both. They're all starting out as that owner operator, then moving into a manager or even just the almost semi-absentee owner role. But most of them, with the exception of one, is starting out all owner operator. And the one had franchising experience before.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that impact things? Was it easier or more difficult?
Much easier.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I felt like most of the founders that I talked to, very similar to my experience, where most of the franchisees did not come with much of a business background. It was their first time venturing into running a business, which took me by surprise when I got started, because I just assumed that I was going to find people that had owned a business before, and now they were going into my business. And I found myself kind of taking a, backtracking on, oh my gosh, wait, there's business skills that they don't have that I need to train them on. And I would imagine that's probably one of the expectations you didn't have going into this. I've got to do that, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's some of our processes came from that initial licensing, where we ended up taking all the call center function, all of our phones get answered in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So for all of our 24 locations, if you see the Google ad, the website, wrap vehicle, etc., we all answer them corporately. Yeah. We booked their calendars, and we took over the billing for them as well. Because if you have a dog trainer out there training dogs, 8 hours a day,
Right.
more than likely they're not good at listening to recorded phone calls, monitoring an admin, and making sure they're collecting payments on a payment plan, right?
Right.
That's probably not their cup of tea if they're that doggy. So
Right.
it enables us to be able to support people with less business experience, less business acumen, but yet they still win.
I'm so glad that you guys picked up on the need for a call center earlier in the business. I didn't do that right away. And I found that, well, first of all, our franchisees are too expensive to be answering the phones. And quite honestly, if they're answering the phones, then they can't be servicing customers.
Correct.
And also, years ago, we mystery shopped and found that most of our franchisees weren't able to answer the phone, and we were missing way too many opportunities.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you guys picked up on that early in the business. And it's so freeing too. Our franchise owners absolutely loved it, and there was no turning back once we started doing it. But it's one of those things where it's giving up control, though. If you think about it, if you're a new business owner, you're a franchisee, probably the original franchisees were probably like, well, I don't want to give up that control. I know that was my experience. Whereas the franchisees that didn't know anything different than having a call center, they were totally fine with it.
Right.
Did you have a call center from the very beginning that you franchised?
From the very beginning, Ryan knew he would be out trying to train dogs and trying to talk to clients. And he knew right away, he's like, I need an admin. I need somebody to answer the phone while I'm trying to make these sales and train pups. He was just too busy. So he knew right away. I love the admin.
A long time ago, I like 10 years ago, whatever, I'm in someone's backyard with this aggressive pit bull, and they have a small, tiny backyard.
Okay.
Tiny backyard, and I'm training next to a pool. There's a tiny backyard with a pool in it, and this dog is like wants to eat me.
Oh gosh!
And I'm trying to train him. My phone, the tip-top phone rings, and I'm like, I need to take that.
Oh.
This is not working. So then I call the people after, and I'm like driving and trying to put it in my other phone while I'm racing to my next sales appointment, and I'm like, this is not going to work.
Right. Right. And as you came to find out, the call center people, now they're not you. They're not going to be as good as you on the phone. Let's face it, but it's good enough. And the reason why I'm talking about this so much is because I know there's other founders out there that are listening or watching the podcast, and they have a service-based business, and they know that they really need to have the calls answered for their franchisees. And they're probably wondering, are they going to be willing to do this? And is it worth the fight? Because it is not easy. Now, you were smart. You did it from the get-go.
Right.
I did not. And it was a little bit of a challenge getting the network on board with it.
Yeah.
But once you do it, what was that?
How big was your call center?
Oh my gosh. Well, at first we actually did it in-house.
Yeah.
And we hired people, and we had difficulty with that because I guess the nature of the beast in call centers, it was mostly part-time people, and it truthfully was a revolving door. We were training, we had our managers that were full-time, but we were training people, and it was a revolving door of our business. Plus we're season, or our business was seasonal. And so we would need a lot of call center people for just like spurts of time. But we realized that our business is going to outgrow our ability to be able to service it in-house. So we outsourced it to a company. I believe they were actually in Texas, and it worked out really, really well. So I think to this day, I believe the company still uses that same call center. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, but I think it's really, really important too. If you haven't done it from the get-go, like you guys, that it's something that founders consider doing, because it is too expensive for our franchisees to be answering the phones.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about you. So you leave licensing, and now you're going to start franchising your business. Mm-hmm. And so was there this defining moment where you're like, that's it, we're ready? Like when was that exactly? And what happened?
I think we had more interest from the licensees. They wanted a little bit more control. Actually, it was a little bit pushed from them. Everything was getting worked through after about 2 years. And then how our setup was, we were paying them once a month. So they were like, hey, I would really like that money to come into our account. Can we do it to where we control it?
Right.
And they were almost pushing for franchising and them being in control of that money going into their account. So we basically bootstrapped with all the income from those 2 years of licensing to roll that into franchising.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the investment range of the franchise?
Right now it's $78,000 to $150,000.
And is that because of the territory size?
No, that's just whether people need to start with a facility or not. The initial franchise fee is $48,000.
I just assumed it was totally a mobile business. I am so sorry. So there's a brick and mortar component as well?
Yeah, so it depends. So right now, 8 of the, let's see, let me do math in my head.
I know,
14.
real quick.
So I'm going through the FDD right now. So of the new businesses open 1 to 2 years in 2023, half of them were home based. They were just 1 to 2 years old. And then of the 10 that had been open in 2003 for 2 to 5 years, 3 out of the 10 were. So 7 had a facility, 3 were home based.
Wow. Okay.
We still have a lot of home-based businesses. They're able to start. Most people start 3 to 6 months in home. Then they're able to transition to a facility, or they can stay smaller. It's totally up to them.
Yeah.
Do you find that the brick and mortars ultimately do better because customers are coming to them?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I know you're in Tampa, so the weather's nice there, but we have locations in Michigan. And so, I mean, in the winter, you're not wanting to meet at a park or work in someone's front yard or backyard. So they really benefit from having a building, having a place to go, do private lessons there, group class, etc.
Okay. Wow. That makes a lot of sense. And then what
And
about?
if they want to have like $1 million a year gross, like if they want to start building it up bigger, you just can't do that out of a home.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, again, back to trying to scale the business, the mobile side of it now, you're talking about needing a lot more people.
Right.
Correct.
You can only be at one home at a time. And so if they have a facility, how many dogs are they training at once? I assume that they have a staff.
Yeah,
They do. Oh,
train
yeah.
Anywhere 12 to 30 dogs a month at a facility.
Depending on how many people they have.
Okay. And is there group training or is it only one-on-one?
Everything. So we offer private lessons where a trainer comes out to your home and spends an hour to an hour and a half with you. We have our group classes twice a week. And then we also offer our doggy boot camps where the dogs come and live with us. We train them up anywhere from 1 week to 6 weeks, just depending on the package. And it's a blast. You really, really get attached. So when you have to do the homecoming party is what we call it, it gets a little emotional, but it's fun.
I couldn't do that. That would be, I'd have a huge problem with giving the dog back.
Yeah.
But how rewarding must that be for you all?
It's amazing.
That the dog has issues or not even behavioral issues, just being trained. And then you bring the dog back to reconnect with its family.
When we take the dog that was jumping on the counter, eating food, knocking over the kids, it's shoved in the backyard all the time.
Right.
When we take that dog, take him to boot camp for 2 or 3 weeks and bring him back, and in 2 hours he listens to the whole family and they now love the dog. It's exceptionally rewarding work.
It is.
I bet.
Yeah.
Now, how many dogs do you all have personally?
4.
You have 4. All right. What kind of dogs do you have?
Okay, we have a chocolate lab named Ranger. He's the best. We have my Cavapoo, Charlie, and he's amazing. He's such a smart dog. He's so cute. He gives you those puppy dog eyes, and you're like, you can have whatever you want. And then we have 2 more.
Yeah, so we have Xena. She's a Malinois.
So
Malinois. She's all black Malinois.
Yes.
We have a Border Collie Rounder, and then Rachel has a raccoon. And we have a mouse, and we have 15 chickens.
Okay, so we have a lot of animals.
And then, oh, by the way, 15 chickens, huh? So it's got to be a little alarming when you bring the dog into a boot camp and he sees he's on a farm suddenly with a whole lot of animals.
Yeah.
Well, no, we have a facility.
Okay.
That's just our house.
Right.
That's just the house. That's great. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. Well, I'm a little partial to chocolate lab, so I'm sure Ranger is the best of them all.
Yeah.
He is.
Gosh. All right. Well, let's not talk about chocolate labs anymore. Otherwise, I'll start crying.
Okay.
And we don't want to do that. Since you've been involved in franchising now for almost 4 years, what's been like the biggest surprise that you guys have had or epiphany?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, I think as far as surprises, the biggest one, some of our people that are brand new and we just had someone from the call center that worked for Rachel here in the call center. So we have a 2-story building. The top story is just call center people. And we used her for role play with franchisees for 3 years. And then she said, hey, I want to do this. And she immediately ramped up. And within 3 to 4 months, she took her husband off the road. He was a truck driver.
Yeah.
100 grand plus a year. She took him off the road, replaced his salary, and she had like no training experience, and she ramped up faster than like some of our people that had come from corporate because she was so hungry, and she literally just followed the systems because she had no, real experience. She wasn't in sales, wasn't in training.
Right.
She just followed the systems, and yeah, she had a huge why. So I think that was a big
She had
this
a
is
huge
awesome.
why.
It's getting nailed out.
Yeah.
We were her first job in the U.S. She's actually Australian. She was from Australia. She came over here in 2020. What a time to come to America.
Seriously.
I mean, she was amazing. She's just awesome. She worked in our call center for a couple of years. And like Ryan said, she's probably, I don't know, like she's crushing it now. She has got to take her husband off the road and has just gone through every single process. And having no training experience whatsoever, she is keeping so many dogs out of shelters in Idaho. So we're excited for her.
Yeah, her up ramp was faster than some of the people that came with experience from corporate. And it was a big surprise because she literally just followed the systems and didn't really try to do anything else. She just was like, okay, do this, do this, do this. And she just ramped it as hard and fast as possible. And it was super. She was our latest one. So it was just big surprise to see that.
And well, Ryan, you hit the magic word, and that was hunger.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do we? What's her name?
Yasmin.
Yasmin. How do we find more Yasmins?
Right. Well, ask you that, Frank.
It's not easy. I would tell you though, the one trick that I am a huge believer in is using a behavioral assessment tool like a predictive index or a culture index or a DISC, whatever you want to use. What I have found is that when I first franchised, I was bringing on people who I liked and people who I thought were going to be a right fit, but I brought on people who liked sports. And I quickly found out that really had nothing to do with being successful in business until I had gotten my first franchisee in South Florida who self-proclaimed knew nothing about sports. And he ended up being an absolute rock star because he had business acumen. And then suddenly I realized, wait a minute, liking sports was actually a detriment, or like loving sports, I should say, was a detriment to my franchise because coming with preconceived notions of what they thought maybe the sport should be or how it should be done ended up getting in the way. And so using a behavioral assessment, first of all, I love because it will tell you how this person is going to be in terms of their patience level, or how formal or informal, how outgoing they're going to be, or how much they're going to have more of a dominant behavior. And it wasn't like having one of these behavioral assessment tools, whether it's predictive index or culture index. It's not like it set the world on fire overnight that I found who was going to be a great franchisee. But what it did was it helped tell me who was not going to be a good franchise owner. Because if you think about it, if somebody did the behavioral assessment and it came back that they're not very assertive, I can't make them get out of bed in the morning and run their business. Some people think owning a franchise means you're just successful, right? As soon as I bought a franchise and I'm going to have money rolling in. We all know that doesn't work like that.
Nope.
And the same thing with on the patience level. It's really interesting because we want franchise owners who are patient, not too patient. They have to have a sense of impatience where they have that urge and that get up and go.
Yeah.
Yasmin has that. I know without even seeing her, her predictive index assessment or culture index, I kind of know what it's going to look like. And so I can't necessarily tell you how we're going to find more of her, but I could tell you that by using a behavioral assessment and having her and having your other franchise owners take an assessment tool, it will better give you a profile on what does it look like. And I don't want to try to, pigeonhole everybody into having the same sort of personality, but what you're inevitably going to do is you're going to save not just yourselves, but you're going to save somebody who maybe is not a right fit for your franchise. And something that, not that I'm judging just the behavioral assessment, but it's going to be the things that you picked up on, and it's going to confirm. The assessment tool will confirm the things that you already kind of intuitively know. And you can have that conversation because we don't want people to fail.
Right.
But if they're not a right fit for your profile, then we're better off having them find a system, have a franchise that they can succeed in doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, again, I don't consider this just like the holy grail, but it is definitely one tool in your toolbox. I highly recommend. It's worked for me.
Okay. Yeah, we're excited to implement that.
And for employees too. This is not just for franchise owners. I think for employees, it's outstanding. It really does help a lot. Anyway, well, that's my tip for the day.
Yeah.
What about challenges, mistakes? I love getting into this. Would you be willing to share maybe a challenge or a mistake you guys made early on and fixed?
Yes. So one mistake early on is not auditing. We use external marketing companies.
Okay.
Not bringing in another marketing company that's not trying to get our business to audit whoever's running marketing currently.
Yeah.
Would you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So like currently we have 2 marketing companies we're contracted with. So instead of having our people go out and find their own, we find them, vet them, negotiate contracts, and then they can choose who they want to work with, right? And we negotiate those fees for them. But one thing that we didn't do early on that we do now is we find a marketing agency in a city that we're not planning on going with, or we ask people for referrals. And then we have someone with 10 or 15 years experience go into the Facebook, the Google AdWords account and audit them, and then do a Loom video full audit report of what they see, good, bad, and ugly. And so early on, we had a marketing company, great results, and then really poor results. And then we did that a little too late.
We did that way too late.
Yeah.
So, that's the best of us.
Right.
Now we don't wait for the complaints. Since we're vetting them right off the bat, we're auditing them ideally before we ever get any issues. Or when the issues come, we can tell our franchisees, hey, we're proactive in this.
Right.
We just had them audited, and this is what it came back as.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're doing now coaching, monthly reports, all that stuff with the marketing team or the marketing teams, because we have plural now. But we definitely learned from that one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. I assume that the number one way franchisees are finding customers has got to be through social media, right?
Google Ads, social media.
Google
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you guys have, so is the plan already set up for them, or do they have to have their own individual accounts? How does that whole?
So we run one corporate social media, right? Because like you were saying earlier, where the individual franchise owner, they bill out at the highest rate. Their time is the most valuable.
Yeah.
With most small business owners right now are spending 2 hours a day on their business social media.
That's a lot.
I cannot afford for our franchise owners to do that.
Yeah.
That's way too.
That's another huge advantage, knowing that they're coming to you and
Correct.
You've got that covered for them. The phones are being answered and the marketing is being done.
Correct. So they're selling and fulfillment and hiring and training.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So I want to hear about the long-term vision for the company. Where are we going with this?
Okay. This is, we just want 100 locations, if not 200.
We're not hitting 1,000.
100, 200, whatever.
Yes, we're not going to go to 1,000 locations.
Frank, how many did you have before you sold?
Well, franchisees, we were probably in the 180 franchisees. I always share that, we have right now, I-9 has about 250, 260 franchise owners.
Okay.
And they have 1,000 venues. So each one of our franchise owners has a territory. And then within their territory, they have multiple venues where the games are played. So, I'd say in terms of franchise, it was under 200, but in terms of franchise owners, it's a lot. I mean, the game changes once you hit, I think there's really certain milestones. I think right now where you guys are now in that 24, you're going to look a little different when you're 50, when you're north of 50. And it's going to be really critical to, for you guys to continue to grow, not just grow units, but you guys to grow internally. And I can tell already, you guys are so like open-minded and proactive. You guys are going to have no problem. But a lot of franchisors that are not proactive and open-minded to, and being receptive to change, they stall out around that 50 mark.
Okay.
And that's why, we always talk about this statistic that I heard from the Fran Data people that 84% of all franchisors never get to 100 units.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 100 units is our end goal.
Okay.
Now our current focus is on 40.
Beautiful.
Right. And then at 40, we really have to reassess, because we support so heavily, we have to reassess the call center, whether we're taking over an entire building for that. I mean,
Yeah, I hear you.
2 floors just for that. And so, or whether we outsource, whatever, however we decide to handle that, we have to reset just because at that point there'll be different time zones we're handling. So 40, pause, and then we'll keep going to 100.
Good for you. I think that's a great plan. And your franchisee profile is going to start to look a little different too once you get closer to 100. I mean, think about there are people out there right now that's going, gosh, I love this business. I really like Ryan and Rachel a lot, but they only have 2 dozen. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for them. And then you get somebody when they may not be the big risk takers. And trust me, when you're 24, that's fantastic. And I would be willing to be part of, what you guys do because I believe in you guys and you guys have done a great job of putting in the systems and processes. And you guys don't act like a franchise with only 2 dozen franchises. You're way ahead. I can tell that. But there are people who are going to wait till you get closer to 100 and say, now I'm ready. That they have to feel like that they're part of something that's much greater. And so that profile of that person is going to look a little bit different.
What does that person look like?
Well, that person definitely has higher expectations of the systems and processes that everything is down. They're not the big risk taker.
Okay.
So that person doesn't realize that you do have all your systems and processes in place, and it's just follow the system and it works. I mean, Yasmin's a great example of that, but that person is probably going to just wait because it's a level of comfort level.
It's a security-minded individual.
It is, yeah. And also for you all are going to change dramatically by the time you get to 100 in terms of your team and staffing. And, I haven't even asked you about, like, how big is your team right now?
Currently in corporate, we have 32 employees.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And that's everything from kennel techs to our trainers to our call center employees all together.
Yep, that includes all the training managers. So like right now we have an Arkansas location. They're going live next week. So our managers
We're so excited for them. A super young couple. Yeah. I think they're like 22. They're real young.
Yeah, they're 21 and 22.
Yeah.
No way. That's great.
In Bentonville. Yeah, we're really excited for them.
Wow. There is this resurgence, by the way, in franchising, and it's skewing much younger nowadays.
Really?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. It was not like that in the earlier 2000s. I think there was a little bit of a shift during the Great Recession when college students, they were graduating and they didn't have a job to go to, and we started to see the shift where parents were buying a franchise for their kids. And I saw that a little bit in the, that 2009, 2010, and then there was a bit of a lull. It didn't really take off from there. But now we're finding more and more franchise owners are coming in their earlier 20s. And part of that is, what is a lifestyle of what they want. They don't want to work for somebody. And Gen Z, let's face it, Gen Z is different than Gen Y or us old Gen Xers. So, I think it's a matter of the trend is changing because of generational preferences.
Yeah. Frank, we've actually had people call and say, hey, I'm looking to buy a franchise for my daughter who's 19 or my son who's 23 or whatever.
Quite a few.
Yeah, we've had quite a few parents call, and we always tell them, like, hey, we'd love to meet you and whoever it is that's going to be running the location.
Of course. Yeah, I found that the success, and we had mixed success because we were new to it. We weren't used to parents buying a franchise for their child, when we first started. And we found that the best chance of success was when the parent was somewhat involved, if they were writing the check that we wanted them to come to training and for them to be somewhat involved with their child, because I know that there are some parents that say, hey, I just want to write this check for my 20-year-old who maybe didn't go to college. I know my son didn't go to college, and we were totally fine with it, and he's doing phenomenal in his career. But, some parents are thinking, well, I'm going to just stroke this check and put my kid into business. And like you can't be the babysitter now. This is not, that's a very expensive babysitting check that they wrote you.
It could potentially get 20, and on what we do, they could be an owner operator with 0 employees, and it could potentially work if it was the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a guy right now, he was in nursing. He's in South Carolina. He was in nursing for 20 years.
He's from your neck of the woods, actually, New York.
He ran
no way.
Nurse at an ER in New York. And he's been owner operating for the last year and a half. He's out of medical field, and he's just working 60 hours a week.
He loves it. Yeah.
He loves it.
Yeah, he just loves it. I'm like, dude, you need to hire. And he's like, yeah, but this is great. My clients are so happy. And he likes his work, you know?
That's the problem with your business, is that people will love doing it. It's a lifestyle business.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I mean, you're working with dogs every day. Like, hello, that's so fun.
That's so much better than people.
I
know. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm on board with that. Okay, what about when people are doing their due diligence? Obviously, you guys are very, very careful about the people that you're bringing on.
We are.
So when people are doing their due diligence and you want to kind of prepare them, like, here's what this business really is and here's what it's not. Would you share with me what are some of the things that you walk them through and you want to make sure that they have a full real understanding of what this really is about?
So the first and foremost thing is like you will be taking care of dogs. Right. Mm-hmm. So, sure. I mean, and that's the most important thing is the care for them. Right. So that looks like whatever they need. And a lot of dogs are different. Right. If we're working with potty training, it's going to be you might get peed on. OK, you're going to have to clean kennels, things like that. And again, we do have people who are now starting to just hire a manager that will run their location or their unit, There are those cases, but that's our number one. Our number one thing is the care for the dog. So you have to be in it. You have to care. You have to love dogs. And I don't know, what else, Ryan?
Yeah, it's not like you just throw the car in the shop type thing.
Right.
They're dogs, and this is people's children.
Yes.
So that's the number one is, hey, you will have people's children. Mm-hmm. You will be responsible for people's children
yes.
with furry.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then second, I like to tell people, this is not starting out semi-absentee. This is starting extra. So this is a hard start business. Like I was on the phone with a guy, nice gentleman from Louisiana yesterday. Right off the bat, 60 hours a week is probably what it's going to look like. Until we get your first 3 employees, you can make your schedule. More than likely, it's going to be between 40 to 60 hours. And until you get 3 employees, you're going to be busy. You're going to be doing everything. Mm-hmm. So I just want to preface right up front, especially for people looking at multiple opportunities, I'm going to tell them, hey, I don't know what else you're looking at. You're going to be grinding to start with. Now, you could go into a facility in 3 to 6 months.
Right.
But the startup in our business is hard. It takes some work. It takes some work to get liftoff.
Sure. I'm glad that you guys tell them that. That's really important. Set the expectations right. So do you not allow part-time franchises?
Not really. We say you work 30, 40 hours a week. Maybe that's part-time. I don't know. But
I'm actually relieved by you saying that.
Yeah.
I tried it, and I know that every brand is different, but I feel like with your brand especially too, if we allow people to kind of ease in, they're not going to get very far. They're not going to scale. And I know for me, I had the same issue. We used to have a saying in my office, and that was part-time equals no time. What it came down to, because life got in the way. Right. And our part-time franchise owners were the ones that missed they'd miss coaching calls, they'd miss webinars. I can't come to the national meeting. It was so consistent, and they were never at the top of the leaderboard. Let's face it.
Yeah, top leaderboard people, like you were saying, they're always at the conferences. They're always on the web events. They're always on everything.
Yeah. Cool. No, I'm glad you guys do that. Well, guys, if someone was interested in learning more about Tip Top K9, where would they go?
Yeah, if they're interested in a franchise, go to tiptopk9.com, click on the franchising button, fill out the form. And like I said, we run a professional call center. We may call you 800 times until we get you the more information that you are requesting. But we will, if you buy one, we will do the same thing with your client.
That is great. All right. So who is going to answer the tip jar question, or both of you? So we've got a new question that I do now at the end of every episode for 2025. And it's this. You have a friend that's maybe interested in buying a franchise.
Okay.
What would be a piece of advice you'd give them about making sure they made the right choice in the franchise that they become part of that brand?
So I would say try to go there immediately. Call, fill out the form on the client-facing form on someone else's brand. Go try to buy something from a local franchise. But then also just go to corporate as soon as you can. Just go. Like when people come here for like a confirmation discovery day, it makes or breaks it 100% every time. They're either like, heck yeah, I want to do this, or God, I walked 5 miles today, or something. Right.
That's great. That's great advice. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was awesome. It was great meeting you both. I know you guys are going to be an absolute super success. I'll be watching you guys for sure.
Thank you, Frank. It's been such a pleasure being on here and getting your wisdom. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Frank.
Thanks, Ryan. Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.